I love your attitude, Chad, just as far as making the opportunities and figuring out where opportunities are. And it's always a good indication, or where you see a company where you said, hey, 70% of our revenues are coming from somewhere that they weren't coming from a year ago. And I think sometimes what happens with people is when we're trying to visualize where we're going in success, they get too rigid with those visions. And because I would tell you that I don't know where everything's going to be coming from in 5 years. 5 years ago, I didn't have a lot of the companies that I have now, or I had different companies that have been bought or sold, and the revenue sources looked a lot different. So, Tony Robbins says people overestimate what they can do in a year, but they underestimate what they can do in 10 years, right?
Absolutely.
And, I'm 56 years old, and I would tell you that 10 years, I'll just be getting warmed up. Now, I always say that I'm 56. What I call that, Chad, is halfway. And, at 66, I'll probably be saying the same thing, because I always believe, and I know in my heart that my future is bigger than my past, right? So when you think out there, if I'm sitting there today and I say, hey, I need to break out of the herd, I need to just start doing something over the next 12 months, the next 24 months, where do you see some opportunities?
Yeah, so to speak to that directly, I believe that you've had Mr. Lennington on here recently talking about here, and that business. My partner and I were talking, and we're in, I think, our 15th or 16th cycle of running 12-week years at this point. Could be a little bit more than that. And that allows us to maximize all of our opportunities in a much shorter time period, right? We're going to deploy, we're going to analyze, we're going to execute, we're going to move. Where do I see those opportunities coming up now? I can tell you that for us, probably for the next 12-week years, we are going to continue to work upstream with our banking relationships to buy these extremely lucrative. What we found is when you take something from one category and move it to another category, you can create quite a bit of additional value. So we have been taking some of these reverse mortgage notes where someone has been deceased and there's no heirs or any of those things, and then purchasing those at a discounted rate on the mortgage side, and then taking it through the actual acquisition of the property, and then we can sell the property from there. And we've been able to create some significant returns for our investors through there. I see that process moving on for quite a while. The whole time, we're always kind of on guard against inflation and things like that. So the backside to that is using those funds to buy and hold significant income producing properties in our local market and then our regional market. There's some things that large corporations are doing in our area. One company just announced that they're building a $5.2 billion manufacturing plant about 40 minutes south of where we are. So we are buying up as much single family and multifamily real estate as we can in that area, because there's going to be the factory workers who are coming in there. That's an estimated 5-year build out. It's going to produce, X number of hundreds of more high paying jobs. And so we're assuming that there's going to be a bit of a boom in that market. But because we're still buying everything at 40 to 60 cents on the dollar in current dollars, that allows us to create even more margin in there. So even if we're wrong, we're still right. We're just not right as much as we thought we were going to be right. Does that make sense?
Absolutely makes sense. Chad, I think that thing I really like about what you're doing is, again, you're hands-on. You're not doing the same thing as the herd. Even people that are in real estate, you're not just doing, you're innovating, you're changing. Talk to, what are some of the things in your life that help you to have the confidence to do that? And what's some advice that you would give the audience to whatever they're in, just kind of for attitude and innovation, kind of where it kind of seems like you, every time I talk to you, you're very positive, you're spearheading, going forward. No, you know.
Sure. I would say the biggest part of that is, you know, is going to be my faith in Christ, right? Like, I understand that at the end of the day, none of this stuff actually belongs to me, right? I'm just trying to be the best steward of everything that has been entrusted to me. And I think that there's a story about a man who was given, you know, 5 talents, and when he came back, he had 5 talents more to give the person that he was reporting to. And I think that, you know, several of our greatest gifts as humans is our ability to see and anticipate patterns, our creativity, right? Like, that separates us from the rest of the world. And if we're not constantly pushing into those things, right, being creative, looking for patterns, because whenever we see those things, we can kind of tend to anticipate what those next moves are going to look like, and then we can position ourselves and others with us into those spots to take the biggest advantage, right? And we're not doing this out of a selfish reason or a greedy reason. Like, we are trying to serve as many people as we can, because that's what we're called to do, and we're called to do that with excellence. And so if we're not pushing into that, we're really kind of being lazy and not stepping into everything that we've been called to. And at that point, you know, you might as well just watch Netflix and eat Cheetos all day. So for me, it's never really been an option. And then there's also that driving factor of, if you do the math with 12 people in our homes, that's 36 meals a day that we're serving up, whether we want to or not. So there's some motivation in being able to provide there, and, you know, provide well for the families of our teammates and all of those things. So, but yeah, it's a constant push to grow and innovate.